This is the newest, hottest PC case to come out from iBuyPower's sister company, Hyte. After the success of the Y60, the release of this PC case feels like that moment when Neo learns Kung Fu in the Matrix, or Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time, or Hot Rod finally opening up the matrix of leadership. And we are about to build something worthy of its own ballad. When it comes to showcase PC cases, there are a few that stand out in the crowd, the Hyte Y60 being one of them. So how do you make a case like this even better? Well, to be honest, Hyte's already done it. But now they're putting all the pieces together kind of at once. By taking the aesthetic of the Y60, increasing the total volume by around 18%, then adding in an advanced and enhanced version of their corner display panel conversion kit, the Hyte Y70 Touch aims to go beyond the Y60, rising to, well, new heights and letting in, bigger GPUs. Available at a number of retailers like Best Buy, Newegg, Micro Center, Amazon, and more for $359.99, the Y70 Touch puts the premium into premium PC cases. I don't know, it's like a bad touch on your wallet though, you know what I'm saying? A few of you out there just choked when you heard that price. Honestly, it is one of the more expensive cases we've seen. But to be fair, look, I know you were panicking, but follow along with me. When you look at the price for the Y60 and Hyte's LCD conversion kit, the Y70 Touch costs around the same as those two combined. And the Y70 Touch has a few features that are improvements over the Y60, including the touch display and, you know what, room for those big GPUs. This thing right here, it's hard to miss, and it adds some really interesting options to your PC build. Using Hyte's Nexus Touch app, you can customize this 14.1-inch display with widgets that can do all sorts of things. Are you a streamer, or do you watch streams like Robeytech where you want to follow Twitch chat? If you don't, you should be watching, and there's a widget that will let you do that. Do you need quick access to applications like Steam or Discord? There's a widget for that. Or how about the ability to, do like quick system changes, like changing things like sound, brightness, and mic levels at the quick touch of a button? You know what? It's got you covered for that as well. Do you want to play Tetris on the side of your PC case? Yeah, you think I'm trolling you right now? Nope, you can use the touch display to play Tetris, and you know what? It's actually pretty good, except for when you're terrible like I am. But if widgets aren't your thing, you can just use it as a slim second display too. And it's just, it looks really, really good with its 1100 by 3840 or 4K for all intents and purposes resolution, and it has a 60 Hz refresh rate. It is worth noting that we did notice a slight impact on gaming performance with the benchmark with an RTX 4070 Ti. Nothing too significant, but it's significant enough to bring up that if you were looking to build a system with a less powerful GPU, but dude, if you're spending like $349 on a PC case, I don't know if you're gonna be putting in a pretty budget build, but hey, you never know. Now, let's talk a bit about the case's dimensions and what you can actually fit inside of it. As far as the overall size, the Hyte Y70 Touch is 12.5 inches wide, 18.5 inches deep, and 18.5 inches tall, and it weighs 29 pounds without any parts installed. So that's roughly the same as like 5 cans of Crisco, 2 bowling balls, or a 50-inch TV. For case I/O and controls, the Hyte Y70 Touch has a clicky mechanical power switch. You have one USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 port, 2 USB 3.2 Type A ports, a combined audio/mic port, and as well, as we mentioned before, a 14.1-inch 4K 60 Hz touchscreen. Moving inside the case, the Y70 can support ATX, Micro ATX, Mini ITX, and eATX motherboards that are pretty much the same size as ATX. So maybe just forget about eATX. That means if you're looking to build a system with a bigger motherboard, this really isn't the case for you. That kind of hurts for the price. But what about GPU sizes, Robey? The Y70 supports GPUs up to 16.6 inches long and 4.1 inches in height. This is an interesting measurement to pay attention to because this PC case makes builders use the included PCIe 4 vertical GPU mount, which why wouldn't you use this thing, especially when the way the cap on the riser cable matches the case color? You'll just want to make sure that there is plenty of clearance between the GPU and the glass side panel so air can move freely around it. Guys, this was a huge problem in the Y60, and now, you're looking at this thicker GPU and You can see it's got plenty of room. Now for CPU cooling options, the Y70 can fit up to a 280mm or 360mm radiator at the top or the side of the case if you're looking to use an AIO or building a custom loop. As for clearance, for air coolers, the Y70 has 7 inches of clearance for beastly air movers like the crown prince of our air cooler Olympics, which you should definitely check out right here, the Cooler Master M8 825 Stealth. Although, we wouldn't really recommend an air cooler on a side intake case like this. Now speaking of moving air, the Y70 Touch has mounting for up to 10 120mm fans. Brian, can you even count that high? No, okay. 1 at the case rear, 3 at the top, 3 at the side, and 3 at the bottom, provided that the fans at the bottom of the case are less than 32mm thick. If you're looking to use 140mm fans, you are in luck. The Y70 Touch has support for up to 7 of those. Let's talk about power, Robey. What about PSU support? The Y70 can accommodate PSUs up to 235mm, or around 9 inches in length. In other words, it will fit most modern PSUs without any problem. The Y70 Touch has a vertical mount for the PSU in the back chamber of the case, and there are a couple Velcro cable straps below it just to help manage all the power spaghetti coming out of the back. As for spaces for hard drives, the Y70 Touch has 2 drive bays that can fit up to 2 3.5-inch hard drives or 4 2.5-inch SSDs. Now I'm not gonna lie, it makes us really happy to see. It's just a nice touch. And I'm not even trying to make another touch joke, though it is touching that you'll think that I was trying to be funny. This is a stunning case, but we need to talk about how it performed in our thermal test. Since we've reviewed a ton of cases here at Robeytech in the past year, we're gonna limit the comparisons to PCs that are like the Y70, specifically those that pull in air from the side rather than the front. While idling, the Hyte Y70 Touch averaged 33 degrees Celsius on the CPU and 37 on the GPU. This is a couple degrees warmer on the CPU side of things than like the NZXT H9 Elite and the Phanteks NV5. Now under CPU load, that's where things change. The Y70 Touch buddied up with the NZXT H9 Flow in the CPU temps at 75 degrees Celsius, but it wasn't quite as cool as Lian Li's O11D Evo. It missed that one by 1 degree. The GPU did run hotter in the Y70 Touch than most of the other cases. It wasn't anything all of that concerning, but we'll talk about this here in a minute. In 1440p gaming, the Hyte Y70 Touch sat at the middle of the pack in our charts, with CPU temps averaging at 48 degrees and GPU temps at 66. It matched the CPU performance of the Lian Li O11 Evo, but it was edged out ever so slightly by the Phanteks NV5. Okay, let's revisit the GPU temperature thing for a second. In a few of our tests, we mentioned that the GPU ran a bit warmer than other PC cases. Now, we use the same PC parts, and if you want to know what all those are, they're down in the description below. But for the GPU, we're using MSI's RTX 4070 Ti Supreme in all of our testing. But in this one in particular, we had to mount the GPU vertically instead of horizontally. That's just the nature of the Y70 Touch. Fortunately, there was more than enough distance between the GPU and the tempered glass side panel, and it had plenty of air feeding it. However, the closer obviously you get to the glass, obviously the less air you're going to get around them. But again, given the different orientation of the GPU, we saw slightly warmer temperatures. What did you think of the Hyte Y70 Touch? I mean, I'll be honest, the Y70 Touch is a pretty case, so what's not to love? The touchscreen?
Yeah, I just want to let you know.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it looks so good. And the integration, it's some of the best that we've seen with the case. There's plenty of room for cable management. It's spacey, it's easy to build it, but there were a couple of things that we noticed that would be worth keeping in mind if you were considering the Y70 Touch. As mentioned earlier, the Y70 has more space to work with than the Y40 and the Y60. While that sounds like a duh, Robey, it's a bigger case. Of course there's more room to work with. This extra room actually meant more air volume in the case, and this actually did have a significant impact on thermal performance. Now, we had a few moments where the GPU ran a little warmer. We've never felt like our components were like in danger or anything like that. To be clear, we didn't see any thermal throttling. But we also didn't use huge parts to fill the space, which can have a huge impact on heat. Remember, space for air to move is good. Your PC parts will thank you later, and this is one of the issues that the Y70 is supposed to fix over the Y60. We also noted that the display panel can have a slight impact on game performance, but we didn't mention that the DisplayPort cable used to connect the screen to the GPU is a little bit on the short side. It wasn't so short that we couldn't plug it in, but we're building with a 3-slot GPU that had its display ports at the bottom slot. So if you there might be cases where you might just be in for a bad time. The third thing is, it's sort of related to the DisplayPort cable. call it a second cousin, thrice removed, then reinstated after each removal. So that's like it's like your wife. Using the GPU riser is non-negotiable, but you will have to pull it out of the case during the building process. I don't make the rules, that's just how the case is designed. Now, because you'll have to use the riser cable for your GPU, this does mean that you won't be able to use other PCI devices like capture cards or SSD cards. It's a little bit of a bummer if you need them. There are alternatives, but that's another video. Overall, as far as building goes, the experience was pretty good. Oh, you know what? There is one more thing I should remember. Here it is. This is gonna suffer. Overall, as far as like building goes, the experience was pretty good. Thanks to all of the removable panels and mounting brackets, the fans and radiators were easy to install, and the cable channels honestly were plentiful. But with how open the case is, you won't want to skip cable management. There are gaps that you can, it's like a wind tunnel. There are gaps you can see right down into the cable areas, so you just need to be aware if how visible your cables, specifically given how much you can actually see in this build. This case will not hide your shame, nor will Brian, and it won't make any excuses for you either, though I'm still trying to get Brian to make excuses for me. That's our review of the Hyte Y70 Touch. Honestly, a great improvement over the Hyte Y60, and the added room for basically giving you airflow, the building experience, and all of that, plus the touchscreen is pretty incredible. It releases on October 24th at major retailers in the US and Canada. What do you think about it? Would you build in the Hyte Y70? Is the temperature changes a big deal to you? What widget would you use on this glorious 14-inch touchscreen? Let us know all of that down in the comments below. Now, while you're down there, go ahead and slap that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring that notification bell so you get a notification each and every time we post a video like this right here at Robeytech. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.